Welcome back. This morning, we're shining a spotlight on some brand new developments in the case against a teenage girl who's accused of murdering her own mother and attempting to murder her stepfather. 15-year-old Carly Gregg appeared briefly in court Tuesday for a motions hearing. Prosecutors say after the shootings, she invited a friend over to look at her mother's body. The judge heard several motions, including one to exclude the public and the media from her trial. The defense arguing that continued media coverage of her case will ultimately impact prospective jurors and maybe even witnesses.
Instead of trying to convince a jury, what you're actually doing is trying to change someone's mind. And as I'm sure we all have parents and kids, when somebody's made up their mind, it's almost impossible to get them to change it. And they don't care what the evidence says. They don't care what the testimony is. They've already gotten this opinion, and it's given this sort of improper notion of expertise in the legal proceedings that they understand and know what's going on, when they really don't.
However, the judge ruled the cameras will be allowed. And in another development, Gregg will be in street clothes and will not be shackled during any of the court proceedings. Her trial is scheduled for September 16th, and you can count on Court TV to be there to film it all. I have two great guests standing by this morning to talk about this, the way that defendant looks in the courtroom, going in there looking like a schoolgirl yesterday. Criminal defense attorney and law professor Don Malarsic and psychology expert Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Great to see you both this morning. Don, let me start with you, please. This child was 14 at the time that these allegations came. She is 15 now. Everybody who's talking about this case is talking about how innocent-looking she is. How does that play in, perhaps helpfully, for her defense team?
You know, it's a major issue, Julie. I tell my clients that at every moment of this trial, someone is going to be looking at you. There's 12 jurors, 24 eyes. Someone's going to be looking at you the entire time. So how you appear, how you act, what you do, what you say, who you talk to, who you don't talk to are all incredibly important. You know, and just this scene that we saw here, you know, I always walk in with my client into the courtroom so that they're not walking alone. I try to be there with them when I know the cameras are on. Sometimes I might try to shield them from cameras. So this is something that the defense attorneys have to think of all the time, especially in these pretrial proceedings where there's very little footage of your client. So this scene that we're seeing right now is going to be played over and over and over again until the September trial date. So you really need to be deliberate, thoughtful, and careful about every time your client is going to appear on television.
Most definitely. Great points, Don. Thank you. Dr. Sue, the mental health aspect of this case, everybody's been waiting to hear if the results of any psychological evaluations are going to be made public, perhaps at one of these motions hearings. At last check, there had not been one scheduled yet for whatever reason. We don't know. But I'm curious what you're most interested to see, knowing some of the facts, like the fact about her inviting her friend over and asking her if she's ever seen a dead body and if she wanted to see her mother's dead body. Dr. Sue, what does this make you think?
Well, Julie, the psychological evaluation, I'm hoping, will show that she has a lot of psychotic symptoms and that they've been going on for a long time. To me, what screams out is possibly she was hearing voices. You know, maybe she has some form of schizophrenia or psychotic disorder. I also want to be looking to see if she, you know, was following a cult or was involved in any kind of organization that was involved in brainwashing or whatever. You don't just wake up and kill your parents. There is something going on in your mind that triggers you to do that. If she had past trauma, what did that look like? You can go on and on and on. But there is something here that triggered her to do this, and it screams psychosis to me.
Dr. Sue, you know, when I'm looking back at some of the facts, we know that these were two separate shooting incidents, according to police. They say that Carly Gregg shot and killed her mother first, as she was taking something from her bedroom, and then she texted her stepfather asking him when he'd be home, and that it wasn't about till about 50 minutes later, according to police, that he came home, and they say that's when she shot him. The texting to him, what does that say to you, Dr. Sue? And that was in the in-between time where she also reached out to the friend, asking if the friend wanted to come over to see her mother's dead body.
So I think what this is screaming out to everyone is that this is somewhat premeditated, that she was setting him up to come home so that she could shoot him also, and calling the friend to come over. You know, Julie, we see a lot of times with these young killers who are kids that they think that they can become, famous from this. And that's going to bring a lot of attention to their lives. I don't know if that's what happened here, but I do think that she planned this in some way. Now, whether or not she was in her right mind while doing this will have to be proved in court. Probably not, and I'm hoping that that does come out. The issue here is that she did kill her own mother and tried to kill her stepfather as well, and then wanted to bring attention to it. But Julie, I think what's bringing most attention to everyone's eyes now is this outfit that she's wearing.
The schoolgirl outfit, yep. I grew up and went all through Catholic school, and it looked like something I had to wear to school every day, my uniform. That's what it looked like. And speaking of school, this child was an exceptional student. Dawn, I want to ask you, please, about the defense here. You are sensational at what you do. We've seen you in action. What a case this is to defend. We know that she was a great student, very well behaved, no prior instances that would put her in the juvenile system. This seemed to come out of nowhere, according to what her legal team has shared. Tell us, please, how you would handle this case.
You know, I think Dr. Sue is absolutely right. You really want to focus on your client's mental health and Carly's mental health, and you want to really have your experts get access to her early and often and have her tested and find out, what is her mental health history. Being an exceptional student doesn't mean you're free from any mental health issues. Not being in prior contact with the court system doesn't mean you're free of any mental health issues. There is a first psychotic break that could result in really violent episodes like we're seeing here with Carly. That has happened before. So you really want to dig in, get your experts, get them evaluated, get all the school records you can, start talking to neighbors, talking to students, talking to teachers, counselors, coaches, anybody and everybody in this young woman's life to find out what was going on. What were the signs, if any, that there were mental health issues that were deep-seated, that were just below the surface, that were triggered somehow on this horrific day that led to these two brutal crimes.
Exactly. Excellent analysis from you both, as always. We'll leave it there for now, but the trial is fast approaching. September 16th is the next court date, so we'll see if it goes then. Dawn Malarczyk, Dr. Sue Kornbluth, thank you both so much for your time and expertise.